Hey guys, so yesterday on the video I told you I was going to be getting a load of mushroom compost delivered today. Here it is. The first thing I've got to do though is test it for salt. As I found out last year, mushroom compost can be salty. Too salty for especially seeds, but even for tiny seedlings. So I got a salt test. This is just from a pool supply store. A cup of filtered water and a little bit of compost. And we're going to see what it comes out to be. We'll see if I can use it immediately or if I have to let it sit. So I'm just gonna wait a few minutes for it to get kind of dissolved in the water, and then I'll do the test. Okay, the yellow band at the top turned dark, so it means it's done. And good news. Not sure if you can see this, but the two lines at the bottom are a little darker than above that. It's basically less than a 0.5. That's pretty much nothing. Last year, I think the worst beds were a 6. So that was huge. 0.5 is about where I got them down to after leaching all the salt out. So we're good to plant. I still wouldn't plant seeds probably directly into only this, but mixing it in to the topsoil or the compost that's already in the beds, or planting seedlings. You can make a little nest around the seedlings, which is probably what I'm going to do, and put just a little bit of raised bed mix in there. This mushroom compost comes not fully broken down, so usually I'll use it as a mulch and let the worms pull it down through the season. Because I'm starting fresh with the beds up in the cottage garden, I'm going to put a few inches on and till it in because the ground really does need to be softened up. And then after that, I'll be doing no-till like everything else, and I'll just put 2 or 3 inches of compost on every season. I still say mushroom compost is one of the most affordable ways to get a good quality compost on a larger scale. Do you guys happen to remember the video I did in, I think it was January, about tulip lasagna pots? I just want to show you how they turned out. Look at how many tulips are crammed into this one pot. And what I love about them is some of them are starting to fade just a little bit. They've been blooming about a week. However, still down inside are tulips that haven't even bloomed. Still buds, and not even buds. So that is an experiment that absolutely worked. Well, it's not an experiment. I just had never heard of it before. I always wondered how people got their tulip pots crammed full of tulips when you can only put them just a little bit apart. You couldn't fit that many. So if you want to be ready for next year, I'll link that video down below. So what I'm going to be doing today is planting a couple of trees and a couple of roses that I didn't get to plant yet. They were bare root, so I just healed them into the ground here. There's a crab apple and a regular apple, and then 2 David Austin roses that are just there temporarily keeping the roots moist. I didn't plant those for a couple of reasons. For one, I didn't have time between all the rain. The second reason is I didn't have gopher baskets ready. I ran out of wire, the right size wire, and I've got to protect these from the gophers. I'm not protecting everything from gophers, but the things that are like trees, roses that are going to live for years and years, I want to protect those. Now the daffodils and the muscari, gophers don't bother, so I didn't worry about those, and they've been fine. Tulips they do, that's why they're in pots. So if you have a gopher issue or any other type of ground dwelling animal that hurts or eats your plant's roots, groundhogs, I'm going to show you how to make these baskets and help keep your plants from becoming food for gophers or groundhogs. All right, so let me go through the materials of what you're going to need to do this. First of all, you're going to need some 1/2-inch galvanized hardware cloth. 2 foot is a pretty good overall width that you would want, and then whatever length of roll you think you might need for however many of these you have to make. You also want some 1-inch chicken wire, gloves. These came with the wire, so I'm not sure, I might be changing these, but gloves keep the wire from poking you. Some tin snips or heavy duty wire cutters. I like the kind that are flat when your hands are up here. It keeps your hands out of the way of the wire. And then a pot that is a little bit larger than the root ball that you're going to be putting in this gopher basket. So the first thing we're going to do is take this pot and wrap the wire around it. This just gives you, it's kind of like a measuring device. And you want it to overlap about 1 inch, and find out then where you need to cut that. And cut it so that you're going to have some wire sticking out here. And that's going to help you attach it into a circle. So I cut it right along the wire that I'm cutting against. Then we're just going to take this wire, we're going to overlap it a couple of squares and push the wire through and bend it back on itself so it kind of creates a hook. And we're just going to go down. You don't have to do all of them that way, just, every 5 or 6. You could also just take some wire and sew these together. Yeah, these gloves are sticking to the wire. Just kind of bend the wire down and then stick it through and then bend it back on itself. You can also, if it hurts your fingers, you can use like needle nose pliers. All right, so now you've got a cylinder of wire. Now you're going to take the chicken wire and double it over itself and try to get the wire to not line up perfectly. Make smaller holes. Now you could use 1/2 inch holes, I suppose, but I feel like this double layer makes it even harder for the gophers to get through. This is going to go on the bottom of this basket. Now, you could use this on the bottom as well. You could just cut this and kind of fold it all in. And that would be fine for plants that aren't going to develop big roots. They will not get out of this. This could take years and years to dissolve or to rust away. And the roots won't be able to get out of this basket, and you're going to slow your tree down or whatever you're growing. So what this does, the chicken wire, most gopher tunnels are within the top foot. That's their feeding tunnels. So if we can get it down below that, this is still going to keep them out for a few years, but it's going to eventually rust, and the roots then will be able to get out of the bottom of this basket. And by that time, hopefully your tree will be big enough where they're not going to hurt it by chewing off some of the smaller roots that are outside of the basket. You just want an overlap of about 6 inches, 4 to 6 inches all around. Now we'll go out and dig our hole to be able to put this down inside. So we're going to go up here and do the crabapple first. The crabapple tree is going to grow here on the left side of the cottage, between the cottage and the driveway. Now there's about a 25 to 30 foot spread by 20 feet tall on this crabapple. So I'm going to move it further away from the cottage than the driveway because I want it to be able to grow and maybe hang a little bit over the roof, not too much. And I'm great with it hanging over the driveway and kind of giving a sheltered canopy to drive under. So test the hole to make sure it's the right width, the right depth. You want about 6 inches between the ground level and the top of the wire. Now on this side it's going to be more because there's a slant here. But so this is about the right level at this point. So we're going to take the chicken wire, push it down into the bottom, kind of fold the sides neatly. Make sure there's no seams that are going to be opened. Now it's easier if you can bend this in a little bit. Put it down, and then let it expand inside that chicken wire in there. Okay, fill back in with some soil here. I'm not amending the soil because when you plant fruit trees, unless you have really horrible sandy soil or really horrible clay soil and that's it, you want the tree to find its way. You don't want it to be comfy in this nice little hole you made for it and not send its roots out further to find a larger spot to grow in. Just loosen up the soil that we had. These have only been here a couple of weeks, so. And I did this because they were a bare root tree, so they just needed to have something to keep the moisture in the roots. And this is a way to do that. All right, so this is the graft union. You want this facing north, and you want it above the soil line. So we'll bury it about to right there. Which means I need a little bit more soil in here. That's about it right there. And of course you want to fill in outside the wire as well. All right, so this is the finished crabapple tree, and I put a stake in here 45 degrees and tied it on. And the reason I do that is because when you put a stake up the entire length of the tree, that tree does not have any room to move, and you want this tree to blow in the wind and flex its muscles and get stronger. So just putting it down here at the bottom, it keeps the root ball from moving, but it allows the tree up top to sway in the wind and get stronger. As far as these two roses, I realize I'm not going to be able to plant those where they need to be. One is a climbing rose, and it's going to go in this area here and kind of climb up and over the entryway, and then probably a little that way as well. And I still have to do this bottom here, you know, concrete these pylons in so they don't move and just put a decorative finish. So that's a little ways away, so I'm going to pot that rose, and then the other rose is going to be over here somewhere, and this area still needs to be cleared out and leveled, so I'm going to pot that rose as well. However, I did get these 3 trees planted here with gopher baskets. I still have to clean up. These are going to be the trees that I'm going to be teaching you how to espalier. So there's an apple tree, a fig tree, and another apple tree. Now I know many of you right now are getting ready to type into the comments about how concerned you are that these are this close to the house's foundation. And I know that because in all of the videos at my old house where I showed my apple trees growing against our garage wall, I always got comments about that. So I will address those comments in the espalier video that will be coming out very soon because I don't want to have to do it twice. So if you're interested in this method and are concerned about that, make sure you watch that video. While we were talking about fruit trees, I've got quite a few here that are still potted. I've got pears, cherries, plums, nectarines, peaches, and apples. And I'm going to be making an orchard for the apples, peaches, and nectarines, some of which will be espaliered, mainly the apples. And that is going to be here in this area next to the vegetable garden, but right now it is a bit of a construction zone. That's why they're in pots. However, the pear trees, I've got 2 of those, and I've got 2 cherry trees, and I believe those are going to go in the cottage garden. I'm going to have as many edible things in the cottage garden as possible because traditionally that's what a cottage garden would have. Flowers, herbs, vegetables, and fruit. So this eucalyptus tree here is going to be taken out. I'm thinking this tree right here, I don't even really know what it is. It's going to be taken out as well. And we're going to have some cherry and pear trees in throughout here. I've got this red bud here, mainly for the flowers. I've got another red bud here, mainly for the flowers. Actually, it's pretty much all for the flowers. I've got a lilac right here that's going to be replacing this oleander, just when I get the nerve to dig it out, cut it down and dig it out. And then the crabapple is back there. So that should give us a good amount of filtered shade for certain parts of the cottage garden. Every single one of the trees that I'm planting up here is going to give us spring color, and a lot of them will give us some fall color as well. So I'm really trying to create an all-season interest with everything around here, not just the cottage garden. I need to get my weeding tool out here and clean all of this up. Well, I do have to address something that several of you called me on in yesterday's video on weeding. Many of you let me know how healthy dandelions are and that I should have kept them and ate them. And all I have to say to that is, if you can eat dandelions, more power to you. I cannot stand them. I don't know how anyone eats them. I gave them to the chickens. I don't know how the chickens eat them, but they love them. So somebody is eating them, but not me. And that makes me think about something as well. Those of you who live in cold climates, are dandelions killed when they go through freezing winters? Because I cannot fathom planting dandelions, like planting them on purpose. They're so invasive here. So I don't know how you do it. So I'm just going to clean up now. We've got rain coming early tomorrow morning. Hopefully not too much. But anyway, if you learned something or enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Share it with a gardening friend, and I'll see you next time.